I used to think all Muslims were terrorists. 3 years ago, I became a Muslim. I'm 38, white, and from the United States. And in this video, I'll cover what changed my mind about Islam, the hardest part about converting, and what I believe now about Islam that I didn't before. I would just not be happy. And I knew that at the end of the day, something was missing in here. I did not think I could get any more depressed until the day it happened. I noticed that my ex-wife suddenly had this sense of peace and she just seemed happy. And so I asked her, I said, what's going on? Like, what are you doing? And she tells me, well, I decided to convert to Islam. Now, full stop. You have to understand that I'm American, and in America, we are programmed to hate Muslims. Every TV show, every movie, every time you see a Muslim, you see an AK-47, Allah Akbar, just paints a horrible picture. And so, of course, I hated Islam. I hated Muslims. I thought they were all terrorists. And so when she told me this, I was devastated, and I immediately, I'll be honest, I became aggressive. I said, don't you dare teach our son that stuff. I threatened to take her to court. I was gonna spend every penny I had to try to take my child back so that he would not learn Islamic teachings or anything about being a Muslim. It was a really hard time for my family. So then my wife was smart enough to hand me the Quran, and she said, listen, read it. See if you find something you don't like. Now, I didn't tell her this at the time, but I've always been a big believer in know your enemy. I started going to the mosque, to these little events they would have, like the children's events and the bazaars and whatnot. And I noticed that there was so much in the Quran that was amazing. There was so much about the religion that was literally like, if you were to take how the West paints a picture of Islam, and you put it here, and then you put the actual religion of Islam here, they're like two completely different religions. And so I began to feel like I was lied to. Like I was told, hey, these people are bad, they believe in X, Y, Z, but in reality, they believed in ABC. And so I also noticed that when I went to the mosque, if there was a poor person, the imam would ask for money, you'd give him the money and he would hand it to the poor person. And the mosques were just as nice as they needed to be to get the job done. When I remember going to because I grew up Christian, when I went to Christian churches, I remember the preachers having, sometimes a Rolls Royce, and they would just waste money on things. And look, no shade against Christians, but for me, it just seemed more genuine to give money and have them immediately hand it to a sister who needed it, who was struggling to feed her family, not put it in a collection jar and just hopefully maybe it'll make its way through the Rolls-Royce dealership, maybe to the poor people. And so I just noticed all these things and I thought, man, this is a beautiful religion. I had noticed before that the Muslims were the nicest people I had ever met, but now I really saw it. And they were so welcoming, and it was an amazing experience. And it felt like all this weight, all these horrible things I had done, all these sins and these things that were not what I believed myself to be as a person, outside of what I wanted my character to be, all these things weighing me down that I felt horrible about and that I felt like I could never, ever make up for, were all gone. And I made a promise that day that I would stick to not committing major haram, meaning like riba, zina, all the major stuff. And I would obviously try my best for the minor. And I would just try to keep that slate as clean as humanly possible, because that I never thought I would have that chance. I never thought I would have that chance to start clean again. And so that is how I changed my mind about Islam. What I believe now about Islam that I didn't believe before is simply that it is a religion of peace. And if you truly follow the religion, you will have peace. about my life getting derailed with drugs and alcohol because, mashallah, I have not drank in 3 years. I cannot express enough how good your life will be when you follow the system. And Islam is a beautiful system for peace and happiness and just having your life together.